Hi, everybody. Welcome. Kenda Summers and Hazel Prosser here. And we have Claire Harris here today that we are going to be interviewing. And Claire, you have such a unique business. I am really excited to hear about this. So can you tell us a little bit about what you do?
Hi Kenda, hi Hazel.
Hi,
Thanks for
Kenda.
having me on the show. It's really a pleasure to be here and tell everybody about what I do. So Pets to Places is a pet taxi service. So it is quite unique. It's quite unique in the UK. I don't know whether you guys have that in the USA or not, but it's a standalone pet taxi service, which makes it quite unique. We have like dog boarders and dog walkers and things over here who they generally might maybe do pet taxi as an add-on service, but I run the service just as a completely standalone pet taxi service. So it's like a people taxi but for pets. So everyone's like, where do pets go? So generally speaking, pets go to like the vets, which is one of our main services, but then dogs go to the groomers, even cats go to the groomers as well. People are like maybe moving house, or people are going on holiday. So mostly our customers are people that don't drive or don't have access to a vehicle all the time. Like maybe they're a one-car family, or maybe the car's not on the road at the moment or something like that. So they might find themselves in an emergency situation, like they've taken the dog for a dog walk, and it's maybe trodden on glass and cut their paw or something. So then they're in an emergency situation, and if the car isn't at home, then obviously they need to be able to get to the vet. So yeah, basically wherever people want to go with their animal, that's where Pets to Places take them. So
You've taken a problem that a lot of people have off people's hands.
Yeah, exactly. So it's a really easy to use service as well. People can just call or email or text message, or Facebook Messenger, and just say, hey, I need the service. This is the time and this is the day I need you to pick me up, and this is where I'm going. Nice. And it's literally really easy for people to use the service as well. So I think that's really important as well, because when we need to use a service, or if we're looking, like say we're looking for something on a website, the easier that is to use, I think the easier it is for customers to use you. I think everybody's looking for an easy to use service. I went to research holidays yesterday, and some of the websites were really complicated, so I gave up.
The KISS theory, keep it simple.
Exactly. The simpler the better. And that is literally how the service works. You tell me where you want to go, when you want to go, I'll come and pick you up, I'll take you there, you pay me, that's it, job done.
Perfect. What made you decide to start a business like this, Claire? Because it's quite unique.
Actually, I was in between roles at the time. So back in 2012, I had just joined a franchise, which was like a domestic home help PA type of business. I didn't really feel very supported in that. And then unfortunately, I was widowed literally about 2 months after I started. So I wasn't really in any fit state to run a business or do anything much in life, to be honest. So, and I just found that the franchisors really just did not care at all. Like their attitude was like, oh, it's your business, tough. So there was just no support system whatsoever, no understanding, no kind of like backup in place. There was no, everybody needs a contingency plan maybe in life when you're running your own business, or at least an idea of one. Whether it would work, I don't know, but there was just nothing. And so it just got to the point where my mental health was deteriorating. Working with them just became unbearable, and I ended up kind of jacking that business in. And so while I was at home, just I don't know if recuperating is the right word, or I don't know, trying to find some inner peace or something, somebody I know works as a receptionist in the vets near to me, and they said, oh, we're always getting calls all the time for people who need to get their animals to the vets and they've got no way of getting there. They said, so we used to have something where I live called animal ambulance. So they said, oh, why don't you kind of do something similar? But previously it was run as a voluntary organization, and obviously I was a single parent with 3 children to feed, so
Yeah.
I can't do it as much as I'd love to do it voluntary. That's not going to pay my bills, so I just came up with, kind of what would be a reasonable, hourly rate, and what does the business cost to run, and that's kind of how I came up with my pricing, which is, it's quite a fair pricing, I think, and the customers think so too. So yeah, that's so basically that's how it really just started on
Sure.
such a whim. But I think in life your passion finds you, doesn't it? So
Oh my gosh,
that's kind of 7 years later, that's where I am.
Absolutely. So what was it like in the early days when you're between jobs, you found this new inspiration, something that you really want to get into and do? What was it like for you in the early days?
Honestly, it was actually really hard, because when I left the previous franchise, I'd actually had a nervous breakdown. So in my mental health, I was really not in a good place. Like, I couldn't even pull it together to go to the shop and buy bread and milk. Like, even that was really difficult. So I just took a few months to like get better mentally before I started the business. But even when I had started the business, I was really not in a good place, to be honest. So I found it, in some ways, I found it really hard to kind of go to work and put on that brave face and pretend to be that, when you work in a customer facing industry, you have to have that smile, you have to be like really upbeat and like, hi, how are you today? How was your day? And you have to be that person, don't you? So in some ways it was good, because it forced me to just kind of put myself out there and get out there, because I may well have hidden in my house for a lot longer. But then on the flip side, that was really hard, because when you are going through grief and tough times in life, it's actually really hard to be that happy, positive person. So I think that was really hard at first, but because the customers were so like positive about the business, it really gave me that sense of fulfillment and that sense of, I'm in the right place now. Customers would say, oh, you're such a godsend, like, oh, where would I be without you? Oh, I'm so grateful for your help. And to me, I was like, just literally, you're paying me for this, so why are you so full of praise? But I see how much of a difference it makes to people's lives, how easy my service is to use, and it just makes people's lives so much easier. That the praise that people were giving to me was genuinely, that they were really happy with the service, they were really happy, with what I was able to do for them. So yeah, I guess that kept me going. And then obviously at the beginning, when it's a really unheard of service, so obviously there was that obstacle of people sort of learning about who I am and what I do, and building a reputation takes a really long time. That doesn't just happen overnight. And I've been going 7 years now, so I'm really, really well established in my hometown, but it took a long time to get there. So obviously, to start off with, I was only really had sort of a few customers until word spread. But to be honest, that kind of worked hand in hand with how my mental health was. So I think it really gave me the time to kind of I don't know if recover's the right word, but to get to a better place in myself, that I was able to look at the business more from a business perspective, and not just like bobbing along in life, which is what I kind of felt I was doing at the time, just sort of plodding along and just really just flying by the seat of my pants, as it were, and taking each day as it comes. And it was a few years into the business. So I started the business in 2014, 7 years ago. And yeah, I guess it was a couple of years into the business that I was like, I probably need to really start taking this seriously.
This is working. I'm actually making money.
Exactly. So coincidentally, I started like a holistic spiritual home help, like a service that I was running just from my house, like doing Reiki and stuff like that. And I found that really frustrating, because people would just cancel, they wouldn't give you any notice. And in the end, to be honest, I folded that business just because I couldn't deal with the frustration. And then because the pet taxi had really taken off, I was like, well, why am I bothering with this business when this business is booming and I'm barely even doing anything to make it boom. So it was a no-brainer.
That's the best type of business, right?
Exactly.
The referrals and the networking and whatnot. So Claire, you went through a really difficult time. You're a young mom. You've your husband. It sounds like you suppressed your grief and you put on that happy professional face that society dictates that we wear so that we can be the person that they want us to be, right?
Yeah, I think that's really hard, isn't it, when you're going through grief, is that as a society, we don't really talk about grief, do we? And then people, like I found at the time, people either just started avoiding me because they didn't know what to say to me, or people would just say things without really thinking. And I'm not judging those people because I'm probably the worst person for speaking without thinking. So, but I just think that as a society, we're not really taught how to deal with these kinds of emotions. Like, what do you say to somebody whose life has just been completely torn apart because they've lost the person they plan to grow old with? I mean, nobody expects to be widowed at the age of 34, which is what I was at the time. And I think that's half the problem with, and then, like, my children were at school at the time and the school just didn't have a clue how to deal with it. And I think, just generally speaking, we really need to educate society about how to deal with grief, because death happens every single day, whether it's your 90-year-old granny or, like in with what you deal with is animals. But, that's, as I see in my role, obviously, how much people's pets mean to them. So whether it is your pet or your great granny or whoever, people and animals die every single day, and yet we still don't know how to deal with that, or how to communicate with people, or how to deal with somebody who's going through grief. And I think there's maybe a misconception that like it's been 9 years now since I was widowed, and I think people think you've got over it. Oh, you've got over it now, but you don't really. I think that's you don't get over these things, do you? You just learn how to live with these things and just how to just cope, I suppose. I don't know.
I hear that, Claire, so much. Sorry to interrupt, Kenda, but when that speaks to me loudly, Claire, because 3 months, I lost my dad when I was 32. And 3 months after he passed away, somebody said, "Oh, does it still affect you then?"
Yeah, like that's going to affect you for the rest of your life. And
it's funny, those people that make those comments, it's, if we were quick enough thinking, the first thing you would go back to them and say is, your father's still alive, right? Or your husband is still alive, right? Or you're not married, but we're not quick enough to come back to say something like that, because if they had gone through what you had gone through, Hazel, or what you'd gone through, Claire, nobody would ever dream of making a statement like that, ever in a million years. And grief, we're such a grief illiterate society. And Hazel and I talk about this all the time, that I wish there was a grief class at school to teach our children.
Yeah, definitely.
They look at us. They look to see how we're behaving, and we become their models. And I think our generation, well, I'm probably the oldest of everybody here, but we do a much better job teaching our children, how to grieve than, say, our parents taught us how to grieve. And their parents taught them how to grieve. But why can't school have a nice, this is what's going to happen. Everything you love one day is going to cease to exist. And this is what you need to know, and it would just make so much, the world would be a better place.
It really would. So. It really would. Yeah. Completely agree. Really do need to be doing some education about, and I think as well, like I was saying, I had to go out there into the world and put on that brave face. But I think I think we really need to learn as a society to say, I'm not okay today. I'm having a really bad day.
Totally.
I'm just want to cry, and not for any reason, just because I just do. And I think that's one of those things that, again, it's like death, isn't it? It's such a taboo subject to admit that you're not okay. And it might just be that you're not okay for that day. The day before you were fine, and the next day you'll be fine, but for that one day you're not okay. And it just seems like we live in such a closed-minded or uneducated society that it's not, you know, the done thing to say, I'm not okay today, I'm having a bad day for you know, whatever reason, or no reason. Because let's face it, sometimes we wake up in the morning and think, oh, really?
Yeah.
You know, we all have days, we're all human, and we all have days where we just think, oh, I don't want to participate in growing up life today.
No, exactly. Grief isn't the flu. It doesn't come on and then go away and then we're back to normal again. You know, it's people don't get it.
And I think the problem is that even really the medical people don't get it, because the medicals, you know, their answer is, oh, let's just give everybody antidepressants and write them a prescription, whereas they should be prescribing rescue pets to everybody instead.
Yes.
You know, because actually you can't, you know, when you're grieving for whatever reason, or you're going through whatever life situation you're going through, a pill isn't going to make that better. You've got to work through your grief or your issues or whatever it is that you're going through. I just don't, I mean, I'm not judging anybody who's on antidepressants. Obviously, everybody has to do what they feel is right for them.
Exactly.
But I never went onto antidepressants, which is what the doctors wanted to put me on. I think I don't know if there's a massive difference between grief and depression. I guess it's just an individual viewpoint. I guess they're one and the same, I suppose, but different. But, you know, for me personally, I didn't think that was the answer.
Yeah, it's that Band-Aid where they're so quick to write you that prescription.
Yeah.
And it's like stuffing those feelings down.
Yeah.
And you can't, you know, I would think the only time you would need to look for that kind of help is if you were suicidal. We're such a society that we have something for everything. You know, if we can't sleep, there's something. If we're sad, we got pills to make us happy. And it's just we just want to fix society and fix everything, but there's some things you can't fix. There's some things you need to go through to get on the other side of, you know. And it's just such a shame that everything is so fast moving now, that everybody wants everybody to be okay. And like you said, some days you're just not. Some days you're just not. Claire, what motivates you?
It's not money. Somebody said that to me. So I'm reading this 5 a.m. Club Robin Sharma thing. I don't know, you're probably familiar with his work. I'm listening to his podcast. I don't get up at 5 a.m. Let me just tell you, I don't get up anywhere near 5 a.m. I'm never going to get up at 5 a.m. But I really like his thought processes. Not necessarily about making money, but I think just making a difference in the world is really important to me, to actually make a difference. Like, yes, you know, we all need to make money because we need to pay our bills and stuff like that, but you know, I think to be able to make a difference to people's lives as well. So I think that's really important. So I don't just actually run a pet taxi service. I actually raise awareness about transporting animals the correct way. So I created an awareness day this year called Pet Travel Safety Day, which was on July the 1st. So it was the first one this year, which marked the 30-year anniversary. It became law to wear seatbelts in the UK. So in the UK, so that was 30 years ago, it became law that you had to wear a seatbelt or you'd be, you know, fined or get points on your license or something. But in the UK in the 70s, we had this campaign called Clunk, which was before it became law to wear seatbelts in cars. The government launched this campaign. Now, I wasn't even actually born at this time, yet I've still heard of it. And that's how well the campaign did, that even people who weren't even born know about it, because it was really just about raising awareness about putting your seatbelt on when you get into your car. And you know what that campaign did for the safety and how many lives it saved, just because people sat up, they took notice, they listened to that campaign and they went, God, yeah, I really need to put my seatbelt on. Then that was in the 70s. It wasn't actually law until 1983 or 84 that people had to wear a seatbelt in the front seat. And then in 1991, it became law that everybody in the vehicle had to wear a seatbelt. And then obviously, I don't know how the laws work in America, but in the UK, like children's car seats, which were actually came about in the 1930s, but it wasn't until the 1980s that people even considered the fact that they need to be like crash tested, and the laws around children's car seats and stuff have changed as well. So, you know, I guess part of my role is to go, hey, in 100 years of being in a car, when you put a dog on the back seat that isn't restrained properly, what do you think is going to happen to the person in the front seat if you're in an accident? So I just find it really shocking that nobody has kind of said, oh, hang on a second, we've got a kind of 10-stone dog here that's restrained with some really cheap, nasty car seat. Do we think that's going to hold out in a car crash? Because no, it's not. Unfortunately, we have a really big company, am I allowed to say who? Probably not, in the UK, who's just, you know, done some big publicity thing on some really cheap seatbelt that they advertise, which their sales have just gone up by 500%.
Wow.
Which means that loads of people who don't know any different have now basically just jeopardized the lives of their dog if they were in a car accident. And this company, all they care about is, like, imagine how much money they just made by this one publicity article going out. They've just probably made a ton of money. Whereas you know, just find it frustrating because people just don't know what they don't know, and that's okay. It's not their fault that they don't know. They don't know what they don't know, and I'm trying to educate people, but then I feel really up against it because there's this very big company in the UK who are like, hey, buy this seatbelt, it's safe. It's not safe, but they don't care because they care about money.
So I guess you have the social media budget to be able to fight them.
I know, right? Yeah, if I had their budget, then I'd probably reach a wider audience. So I guess that's why, you know, I do a lot of guest blogs, I do a lot of guest like podcasts like this and stuff, just to try and raise awareness, or even to get people thinking, you know, actually that sort of £5 or, you know, $10 or whatever the conversion rate is here, you know, that isn't going to save your dog's life. If you're in an accident, if you genuinely think that $10, £5, you know, car seat thing is going to save your dog's life, then do you really?
You're going to be very sad.
Yeah, like, do you know what cars go through? You know, in the UK, cars have changed massively over the years. And you look at like the introduction of airbags, and now we have crumble zones, and, you know, wearing a seatbelt is the law. Do you think that people are that protected, but your dog's okay because they got their £5 car seat or attachment? Like, people just are clueless, but I'm not judging them on that. It's because they don't know. So going back to the 70s, when there was this huge government campaign about the Clunk click, you know, put your seatbelt on, it will save your life. That's kind of what I'm trying to do with animals. So I feel like I've digressed from your question there. You asked what motivates.
You haven't, Claire, but I remember that.
I think passion motivates me, and just like, I just want to save lives. And, you know, it's just not even being about being in an accident. What if you know, say you had your big dog in the boot, and let's say you had your crash tested dog guard, which is great, but when you arrived at your destination, you opened your boot and the dog just jumped out and ran off or something. You know, if the dog was tethered inside the boot, they wouldn't be able to do that.
Exactly.
So there's just so many things that people just don't think about when it comes to pet transport, or the powers that be that have the power and the money and the big budgets to help me to raise awareness about these things. The
guy with the biggest bank account at the end wins, right? And that's
it's like those with the most money have the loudest voice. So I think, you know, I'm just one person who feels like I'm really up against it. So I guess passion motivates me. I don't know.
You are influencing people, your customers, you're educating them. And then you've got to think, like, if they go somewhere and they see a dog improperly harnessed, or a pet of any sort, they're going to say, hey, you know what? I've got a girl and she comes and picks my dog up, and I always see her use this type of restraint, and this is why. So you are making a difference it's just not the magnitude. And I mean, it's you just, none of us can compete against those big guys. We just
Yeah.
can't. You know, it's just, it's like you said, it's frustrating sometimes, but you don't give up hope, you know, because even if you make a difference in one person's life, educate that one person, they're going to hopefully, you know, remember and educate more, you know. What would your customers say that they love about you, Claire?
Oh, you can read my Facebook reviews. They just say that I think that the service is really like a good old-fashioned service, and just that, you know, I go above and beyond for my customers, which I don't think it's above and beyond, but they think it's above and beyond. But I just think it's good old-fashioned customer service, and I think, you know, I win awards for my customer service, and I just think that's what all customer service should be. I just think that other businesses have maybe forgotten what customer service is. So, you know, if you don't offer your customers good customer service, then you don't have customers, do you? And when you're a small one-man band, you know, no customers equals, you know, no food on the table and no money to pay your bills. Whereas these big corporate companies, they can lose, you know, 100 customers, 1,000 customers and not bat an eye. And I think that's not just why I do it, but I think, you know, just offering really good customer service is what's really important. And I think that's what customers would say about me, is that I always offer, you know, them a really good service, and it's a really friendly service. I think you should treat everybody like they're your friend.
Yes, absolutely. Well, we don't know what's going on in anybody's life, right?
Exactly.
They could have had a medical diagnosis. They could have had a death. You know, we never can judge. We never can judge.
Exactly.
What's the oddest request you've ever received?
Actually, I got a call from somebody to say their ex had kidnapped their dog, and could we run over there and rescue the dog?
You said no, right?
So no, I did it. Yeah, they'd stolen that person's dog, so we went to get the dog back.
Oh my God! Did you call the police to escort you?
No, so we just drove over to the ex-partner's house and picked the dog up, and it was a real movie situation where they sort of ran back to the car, and it was like, go, go, go.
Oh, that could have went so bad on you, Claire.
It could have a little bit, but I didn't really consider that at the time. I was just thinking how I would feel if somebody had kidnapped my dog.
So. Oh, I know. I would feel awful too, but I just, the world today is not.
Yeah, I probably didn't think. I was probably a bit naive, to be honest.
Yeah. Like, I don't know. I mean, it's probably safer in the UK. I don't know. I can't say that. But here, you know, people would have no problem at all pulling out a gun and shooting you.
Yeah, we don't have guns in the UK.
Yeah, so you guys are like Canada. You're a little bit safer there. But yeah, you would never do that in the US. you just wouldn't. What is the most memorable experience that you've had?
Actually, it's not even a nice one, probably. So in the UK, we have like old people homes, which is where when you're too old or not able to live independently, you have to live in like it's kind of like a big house kind of thing, where you live with lots of other older people, but you have your own personal room, or sometimes they're like a little apartment or something. So one of my customers called me and said, oh look, I have to move away from this apartment just because she wasn't getting on there or whatever, I don't think she got on with the other residents or something, but the only place that would accept her wouldn't accept her dog. So she had to give the dog up, and the dog was really old and had loads of medical problems. And when we took the dog to the rescue centre, the dog was like really crying when we left. And I was literally sat in the front crying, trying to hold it together and be professional. But the dog was, just the most heartbreaking situation I've ever been in. And I would
Where did you go? You took him to
Yeah, so we just took the dog to a rescue centre, and the rescue centre said that they would rehome the dog, but the chances are the dog got put to sleep because it was like 14. It was incontinent and it had some other medical problems as well. So I just don't. It's unlikely they would have rehomed it. So, but just the look on the dog's face and how much it was crying. It's
Confusion.
like,
Oh, that's sad.
it was, I know, it was just the most awful, heartbreaking situation I've ever been
For
in.
everybody, right? For the senior as well. Like,
Yeah, I mean, she was really heartbroken as well, and the dog was heartbroken, and it was just heartbreaking to witness that. And yeah, the rules in the UK are a bit bizarre. Some places for elderly people allow pets and others don't, and it's really hit and miss, which is really sad because older people benefit so much from having a
Definitely.
pet. Most of my customers are older people, like over 75, and most of them live by themselves, and most of them, in this fast-paced society that we live in, they can go like weeks and weeks without seeing their children or their grandchildren or their neighbors or whoever, and they can go days and days without speaking to anybody or seeing anybody, or and it's really sad. So their pet is their only companion, and most of my customers love their pets more than they love the people in their lives, because pets are there for them. I think we all do, yeah. I have teenagers, so I definitely prefer pets right now. But I think that's the same of so many people, not just the older generation, but anybody who maybe lives by themselves and their pet is their companion. And to lose that companion is really hard. And I think especially when you get to an age where you think, because a lot of customers, when they do lose their animal, they choose not to get another one because of their own age, and then they're just thinking, they may not have that much longer left themselves, so they don't want to leave an animal behind, which is that's really commendable and selfless, but
doesn't always end that way.
No, exactly. And it's really sad because having a pet is literally their reason for getting out of bed. I mean, I've got one customer, actually her dog has died now, but she used to say to me, oh, I'll take the dog for like 5 or 6 walks a day because I know that when I'm on a dog walk, someone will talk to me. And she lives alone, and she's literally leaving her house just so she will have someone to talk to, because she goes days and days and weeks without having anybody to speak to. And I just think
it's heartbreaking.
That's really sad. Like, is that what's happened to society, that people are having to go out for a walk just to have somebody to talk to?
And Claire, like, I mean, we're on these things all day long. You go to a restaurant and you look at a family and the kids are on these things. I mean, I've been in airports and I've watched like mothers give like a cell phone to like a 2-year-old.
Oh yeah, I know.
Like, to occupy them playing games, and I'm just thinking, oh, good Lord.
Yeah.
What are we doing?
I think it's a generational thing.
Oh my God, yeah. Like, I don't know. Tell us one thing that people don't know about you. Share something with us that people don't know about you.
I think I'm quite a transparent person, actually. I really feel like if you give a bit of yourself, that you get a lot more back. And I think that I'm quite open about my life experiences and the things that I've been through, and how those experiences have made me who I am today. So I don't really feel like there's much that people don't already know about me, other than I really hate peas. I would literally rather starve to death than eat peas. I can't stand peas, they're gross.
Yeah, that you put on toast.
Peas. The little green vegetable. Peas.
My mom would make like a gravy, like it wasn't a gravy, but it was like a mushroom soup in with the peas, and then you put it on toast.
Oh, that sounds disgusting, but
I don't like peas either.
They're a vegetable, like a little green vegetable.
Yeah. But what she'd do is she'd add like, do you guys have cream of mushroom soup?
Yeah. So
she'd add the soup and put a can of peas in, and then cook it, and then you put it on toast.
That does not sound nice.
It doesn't.
I hated it too. Yeah. Hazel, do you have any questions for Claire?
Yeah, Claire, when we spoke, you were sort of saying how the business is progressing, and you were explaining to me that you were looking for people in other areas. How do you see your business expanding from where you are? Because you're in Milton Keynes, is it at the moment?
Yes, that's right. So at the moment, we're running the service in Milton Keynes, but we are looking for franchisees across the UK. So strangely, I never started this business thinking I'm going to take over the world with it. I literally just started it as just something to do, to be honest, and to get out of the house. So it was actually the customers that encouraged me to franchise it, because the customers are really the ones who've been the driving force behind the whole business. Because when we first started, we would just take customers to the vets, but they, wanted to go to lots of other places. So that's how we introduced lots more services. And again, it was the customers who gave me the idea to franchise the business, because they would say, oh, my friend or family lives in such and such a place and they haven't got anything like this service there. And I was like, I really feel like there should be this service, everywhere, because, people are everywhere, pets are everywhere. So that's why I decided to franchise. And I think my own experience of being a franchisee, which taught me how not to franchise, I think it's put me in a really good position to be the franchisor of a business, and especially something that I'm so passionate about. So, I'm really looking for people across the UK to run the service in there.
Why couldn't somebody do what you're doing under your leadership over here in the US or Canada?
Well, that's my next step. So actually, I want to get established in the UK over the next 2 years, and then I'll be going international. So probably the US is one of the first places, Canada, probably some places in Europe, Australia. Every animal loving country in the world has the possibility to have the Pets to Places brand there, and I'm really excited to have the brand across the UK and then across the world, really. And there's kind of a lot more to the business than people realize. So one of the things, obviously, I've said about raising awareness about how to transport animals correctly, but I'm actually looking to design and manufacture my own transport equipment as well, that we can use, not just within the service that we provide, but available to dog owners or, cat owners, for them to be able to use, just with their own family pets. So, yeah, hopefully.
Very smart girl, very smart. Educate, educate society.
Exactly. That's one of the other things I'm looking to do as well, is create some courses around transporting animals for other animal businesses like dog walkers and other pet businesses who maybe don't quite have my knowledge, but I can fill a need, hopefully.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely.
And I agree. And going back to what you said a little while ago about I remember vividly and remember that Clunk Click. It was Clunk Click every trip advert. Yeah. And you'd be surprised, Claire, that words stick. And funny enough, they actually stick with kids, because that advert was on TV all the time. And just a very quick little story. We had a miniature poodle called Jenny at the time. My mum went out to the car to take us to school. And I'd strapped Jenny's the seatbelt right around Jenny and locked it in. So I'd heard this advert on the TV, and I thought, okay, well, she's in the car, and it wouldn't have done her any good at all. But
that is really cute.
And she's dog had got these sort of seatbelts under her two front legs, and I can't, she'd probably got straight out of it. But from what I'm saying is, from what you're saying, your message will penetrate into people's heads, because it only needs, and as I say, I would have been 8 or something like that, 8, 9, but it got into my mind, that Clunk Click every trip. We heard it every other advert was that slogan. And so I got this. My mum's like, well, what are you doing?
But that just goes to show that how powerful that message was. I wasn't even born and I know about it. So how do I know about it? I don't know, but I think that's the thing. When there's a powerful message out there, I think that it will, it's not going to get to everybody, is it? I'm sure there was people at that time who weren't bothering to put their seatbelt on, but you can't save everybody. No. So you can just save the people who will listen. And I think, that's a really important point you just made, Hazel, that you know, as a child, you took note of that. So maybe that's the answer, is that we start educating the younger generation, and at least that's one generation that we can try and help change mindsets.
Yeah, absolutely. Claire, what's the best way for people to get a hold of you?
Probably my website, which is www.pets2places.co.uk. That's pets2places.co.uk, and that's the number 2.
We'll put a link in here.
Yes,
as well,
that would be excellent.
And you're part of the Facebook group. So
yes,
when I air this live, if anybody has any questions, they can reach out to you, and maybe you'll get some people, because we do have people worldwide in our Facebook group. So maybe you'll have some people who are like, hey, you know what? I might be interested in doing what you do. I think it's fabulous. If I was retired and was looking for something, I thought that would be such a wonderful way to fill your day. And, you know, you're helping people, you're helping pets, and you're kind of getting that mixture of all that love, you know. I think it would be a great thing to do.
It's really amazing. It's such an amazing role, and I am so blessed. I love what I do, and I know, you know, obviously I'm going to say that because I'm a franchisor, but I genuinely do love what I do. You know, you just get to help people every day and just make such a difference in people's lives. And, you know, obviously you get to spend all day with animals as well, which is fabulous. That's a fabulous way to spend your day. But I think it's just, you know, the sense of accomplishment at the end of the day, and the praise. You know, I was saying about the praise, you know, who wants to go to work and have a boss breathing down your neck and criticizing you, when you can go to work and spend all day with animals and be heaped with praise all day and get paid for it?
Truly appreciated too.
Yes, exactly,
you know?
exactly.
Yeah, truly appreciate. So if there's anybody out there thinking to themselves, I don't want to AOB anymore, I don't want to BOSS, you know, it's scary sometimes to take that first step into entrepreneurship, but man, oh man, it's like you said, Claire, just the satisfaction of changing people's lives, educating them and helping them out. It just makes you sleep so much better at night.
It really does. And be your own boss, but with the tools and the support behind you.
Absolutely.
To really make a success of it, because, you know, yes, the day-to-day stuff is really fun, but there's so much more to what we do, and we teach people how to do that. And somebody recently said to me, you know, who are you looking for? And I said, I'm just looking for people who genuinely want to help other people and who love animals, because I can teach you marketing, I can teach you publicity, I can teach you the ins and outs of the day-to-day running of the service, but I cannot teach you to be a good person in your core. If you're not a good person in your core, then I can't teach that. You're either a really good person or you're not.
That's right.
You know, you can teach people other things. You can't teach them to be a genuinely good person. So That's what we're looking for.
Claire, do you have any last words that you'd like to share with us regarding the people in our group have lost pets, so their hearts are aching right now? Do you have any advice or any positive affirmations, or just anything that you can lend to the people who are hurting right now?
I think if you've lost a pet, then just take your time and, you know, talk about your pet freely. You know, don't I think people just want to push aside that person's loss, but, you know, speak freely. And even if the only space you have to speak freely is within this group, then really just use that to your advantage, and be open about it as well. You know, I've lost pets as well. I lost rabbits after I was widowed, and I lost my cats who were 20 as well. And I was heartbroken, absolutely heartbroken. My cats were just so full of character, and they were part of the family. And I think, you know, your pet is a part of your family. They're not just a cat or a dog or, you know, or whatever. They're a part of your life, and they're a part of your family, and it's okay to grieve for them. And I think, you know, find the support where you can find the support. And if, you know, Kenda, you're doing a fabulous job with you know, having a group for people and a safe place for people to be able to speak freely and not be judged by others who don't understand that that's not just a cat or a dog or whatever, but you know, you've lost a member of your family. And I see that a lot. Obviously, you know, we do go to the vets a lot, and one of those visits is the final visit. And, you know, customers are heartbroken. But in the same respect, I've seen customers who've just become very, you know, matter of fact and sort of gone, here's my dog, that's, you know, bye-bye. And that's just how some people deal with it. So dealing with grief and loss isn't just tears and sadness. It is sometimes people do put on that front, and they become very matter of fact, and they almost put up a wall. And if that's how people are dealing with it, then that's okay too, because I think, you know, when we talk about grief, we think, oh, I should be crying every day, or I should be, you know, having the tissues at the ready every 5 seconds. But grief, everybody's grief journey looks like whatever it looks like. And no two ways are the same. When I was first widowed, I was like, should I be crying more? I feel like I should be crying more, or I feel like I should be moping in bed all day and not actually getting up and coping with life. But I had no choice but to get up and cope with life, because I had 3 children that had to go to school and nobody to help me. So whatever your grief journey looks like, that's no two people's journeys are the same. And don't compare yourself to others who maybe on the outside they look like they're dealing with their grief a lot better. You know, you never know what's going on in somebody's heart and mind. So I think you just look after you and do what's right for you.
That's right.
And, you know, enjoy this safe space that Kenda's really so generously put on for everybody to share.
Thank you, Claire. You've been a delight, and man, you got my wheels turning. So when you come to the US, we might have to talk here.
Yes, most definitely. Thanks for having me, Kenda. It's been a pleasure.
Thank you, Claire. Hazel, thank you for joining us.
Thanks,
today.
Kenda. Thank you, Claire. So interesting.
Thank you.
So we will conclude now. And if you guys have any questions for Claire, she is in the group, so she will be able to respond to you. And I will put a link to her website as well, so you can message her directly. Thank you, girls. Everybody have
Thank you. Thanks, Kenda. Thanks, Claire.
Bye. Bye.
Bye-bye.